Hey, this is Jerry Roberts again, and we're going to pick up right where we left off in this lecture about communicating across differences. We just got through talking about dichotomistic and holistic thinking, and now we're going to move to another difference, and that is crisis and non-crisis orientation. It's often another one of these situations where we are so tied to one particular way of thinking, one particular way of dealing with the world, that it's hard for us to even to imagine people thinking differently than us. Therefore, it causes problems in our communication. United States citizens are probably in the highest category of crisis orientation that exists. Our thinking is very crisis oriented. Now, what that means is this: we anticipate crisis. We expect crisis. We emphasize planning based on expecting crisis. We seek quick resolution. We don't like ambiguity floating around out there. We repeatedly follow a single authoritative pre-planned procedure every time we deal with a crisis, and we have a tendency to seek expert advice. All right, now let's kind of sum this up so you can understand what I'm talking about. We have a drill for everything. When I was going to school, we had tornado drills because the area of the United States I went to school in had tornadoes, so we had tornado drills, and there was this procedure that we followed. You get up from your desk, depending on who you were, you would go out into the hallway, you would get on your knees and put your hands over your head. Funny thing is that we did the same thing back when I was going to school. We also had nuclear fallout drills back in the 1980s when we were very concerned about being blown up by the Soviet Union. And we did a very similar thing, but we had these drills that we did over and over and over again because we were expecting either a tornado or a nuclear disaster to happen. Another example would be insurance. We have insurance for everything. We have auto insurance, we have home insurance, we have health insurance. There are people who have insurance on their pets. There are people who have insurance on other belongings that they have. You can get special insurance for specific belongings that you have. We consider it, and here's the trick, here's the thing that makes us very crisis-oriented. We consider it to be bad stewardship if you don't plan for crisis. If you happen to have a terrible weather situation that took place and your house was destroyed, if we find out that you didn't have insurance, people go, "What were you thinking? How could you not have insurance? That's the most foolish thing I've ever heard." We judge people. We judge people because they didn't prepare well enough for crisis. And that's because we're very crisis-oriented in our thinking. Now, here's the deal. There are many people in the world that are non-crisis-oriented. A lot of the most obvious non-crisis-oriented people tend to be people who live in the islands. The different islands around the world tend to be very, very, and once again, the particular author that I got some of this information from, he was once again talking about the island of Yap, which is way out in the Pacific Ocean. A non-crisis-oriented culture downplays the possibility of crisis. They focus on the actual experiences that people might have. They avoid taking action and avoid making decisions. They delay making decisions until they're sure that they have to take a decision. And they tend to just have whatever solution comes to mind at that moment. And they just trust. The ad hoc means whatever comes to mind at that moment. That it's not a repeated set procedure, just whatever works at that moment. And they don't really follow expert advice because they kind of think that the experts are kind of making things up or not really as important as they might think. All right, here's the illustration that helps us understand this, and this is actually taken from the book where he was talking about the island of Yap. The island of Yap out in the Pacific, it is an area where there are typhoons. Typhoons are just the same thing as hurricanes. We talk about hurricanes because they come from the Atlantic. A typhoon is in the southern hemisphere and it usually in the Pacific area. They have typhoons that go around the island of Yap quite often. There's also an American military base on the island of Yap. Here's what takes place. Every time there is a forecast for a typhoon, the American military base goes on lockdown. They nail up things over all the windows. They move all of the important things into sealed areas. They themselves take cover in sealed areas to protect all the equipment and everything else. They do this full lockdown procedure every time there's a typhoon nearby. The people on the island of Yap, the Yapese, do nothing. Here's the reason. Typically, there are 5 or 6, maybe 7 times a year where there's a typhoon that's kind of coming toward Yap. In reality, only one of those per year hit the island. And usually, it doesn't hit the island directly, it just kind of glances by the island. And so, when there is a typhoon coming, the American military base is spending all this time working on preparing for this coming disaster. The Yapese are going about their business not worried about it. The author of the book actually described a situation where the Yapese were sitting around doing what they usually did. The American military base is on full lockdown, and this is that one time every 5 years when the actual typhoon hit Yap. During the typhoon, a friend of his came and knocked on his door and said, "Hey, we need help. My friend who has the tree cutting mill, he's got his tree cutting tools down by the ocean, and we need to get them because they're being flooded." And so during a typhoon, they use his truck and drive down to the beach, and they're out in water waist deep trying to save this guy's equipment. Of course, the Americans thinking, why in the world didn't they plan for this? Why in the world would they wait until the middle of a typhoon to deal with this? And their response was, well, just think of the other 5 times that the Americans wasted all of this time, wasted thousands of hours, thousands of man hours, they wasted all their time and nothing happened. We waited until now, and okay, so we have to be out in the typhoon taking care of this, but we didn't have to do anything the other 5 times. So that crisis and non-crisis orientation has to do with communication as well. You can see every one of these things affects our communication because we're communicating preparation and organization and structure and following the rules. And they're saying, why? Why would you waste your energy, waste your life worrying about that which might not ever happen? Once again, biblically, both of these have some biblical scriptures that could support them. So it's not right or wrong. It's different orientations, and we just need to be aware of these 2 orientations. Another is the task or person orientation. And once again, there's a clear differentiation that we can see between a more Western and this time more of a Southern world view. Task orientation, once again, a lot of people from the United States of America tend to be very task oriented. The people from the areas around the Baltic Sea, Scandinavian areas, are also very task-oriented people. The Japanese are very task-oriented people. They focus on tasks and on principles, find satisfaction with the achievement of goals. Getting the job done makes us feel good. We tend to create our friendships based on people who have similar goals. We very rarely going to be friendships with people who don't have the same kind of thinking, same kind of goals that we have in our lives. And here's the crazy one. We accept loneliness and even social deprivation for the sake of personal achievement. We're willing to put up with being kind of on our own, spending time on our own so we can accomplish something. All right? People would have more of a person orientation. They focus on persons and relationships. They find their satisfaction from the personal interaction with people. They seek friends who are group-oriented, not task-oriented, and they'll sacrifice anything just to have friends.